The space station floated like a small city among the stars. It was called Orion's Nest, a place where humans and aliens from different worlds came together to study, live, and learn. A young human named Ryan stood outside his assigned room. He had just arrived from Earth, excited and nervous. It was his first time living away from home, and now he was going to share a room with someone from another species. He pressed the button and the door slid open with a soft hiss. The room was bright and clean. On one side, a bed with human-style sheets and a desk. On the other, something like a floating bubble with water moving inside it slowly. Standing near the window was his new roommate. She was taller than him, slim, and her pale blue skin shimmered under the room's lights. Her ears were small and elf-like, and her hair was long and silver like moonlight. Her eyes were large, calm, and a soft shade of violet. She wore a smooth robe that wrapped around her body like flowing silk. "Hello," Ryan said, trying to sound friendly. She turned and nodded gently. "Greetings. I am Narelle of the Solari people." Ryan had heard of the Solari. They were a peaceful race, mostly aquatic, known for their strong sense of honor and deep emotional connection with nature. He hadn't expected one to be his roommate. "I'm Ryan," he said with a smile. "From Earth." "I know," she replied softly. "I was told I'd be sharing quarters with a human." There was a pause. Neither of them knew what to say. Next, Ryan didn't want to say something wrong. He walked to his side of the room and started unpacking. Narelle didn't move. She just watched the stars through the window. The first few days passed quietly. Ryan tried not to be noisy. Narelle kept to herself. They had short talks about classes, food, or the space station, but nothing deep. She would often disappear into the bathing pod, a sealed room that looked like a glowing capsule filled with water. One evening, Ryan returned from the study hall, tired and hungry. He entered their room, placed his tablet on the desk, and called out, "Narelle?" No answer. Looked around. Her robe was on the hanger near the bathing pod. The door to the pod was slightly open. He walked toward it, thinking maybe she had left something inside or forgotten to close it properly. As he peeked in, he froze. Inside the pod, Narelle was floating, peacefully. But she didn't look like before. Her outer skin had peeled away in gentle layers, revealing a soft, glowing surface beneath, faintly marked with natural patterns like those found on coral or deep-sea creatures. Her form looked elegant but entirely different, as if she had removed a shell and revealed her true self underneath. Her arms and legs were more slender, and thin fins extended from her back like transparent wings. Her silver hair floated around her, weightless in the water. She seemed calm, eyes closed, unaware of his presence. Ryan backed away quickly. His heart was pounding. He hadn't meant to invade her space. He hadn't expected her body to be so different. Not in a bad way, just unexpected. It was like seeing a secret she didn't mean to show. He sat on his bed, not sure what to do. Should he apologize? Should he wait for her to come out? What if she was angry? After some time, the pod hissed open. Narelle stepped out, wrapped in her robe again. Her wet hair clung to her shoulders, and she paused when she saw him. They locked eyes. "I'm sorry," Ryan said quickly. "I didn't know you were in there. The door was open. I didn't mean to." "It is fine," she said, voice calm but distant. He didn't know what to say next. She walked to her side of the room and began drying her hair in silence. Ryan stood up. Your form, it changed. Is that normal for your species?" Narelle paused. "We shed our outer layer every cycle, like how earth insects or reptiles molt. It is part of our growth." "It was beautiful," Ryan said, then immediately blushed. Not in a weird way. Just like nature, like seeing something honest." Narelle turned to look at him. "You were not scared?" "No," he replied. "Just surprised." She sat down slowly on her floating bubble chair. "Most species don't see it. We keep it hidden even from each other. The shedding shows our inner form. It is considered private. I understand. I didn't mean to invade that. You did not run, she said quietly. Ryan tilted his head. Should I have? She looked at him for a moment. No, I suppose not. That night, silence fell again. But it wasn't cold or awkward like before. It felt like a peaceful quiet. Ryan lay on his bed looking up at the soft ceiling light, thinking about how strange and vast the galaxy really was. He came to learn science, culture, and history. But maybe what he was really going to learn was understanding, and it started with a roommate who wasn't what he expected, but someone who carried a mystery far deeper than just a different form. The next morning, Ryan woke up early. He turned his head slightly and saw Narelle sitting by the window again. She was staring out at the stars with a blank expression. Her silver hair was dry and brushed, and her robe covered her like always, hiding any part of her body that might show her unusual features. He wanted to say something, but the words didn't come. The image of her floating inside the water pod still stayed in his mind, not because it was strange or uncomfortable, but because it had felt important. He had seen a side of her no one else had, but she hadn't spoken to him since last night. He stood up and walked to the small kitchen corner of their room. Would you like some hot choco brew? He asked gently. Narelle turned slowly. Hot choco, he smiled. It's a human drink. Sweet, warm. It helps when your mind feels unsure. She thought for a second, then nodded once. I will try. Ryan prepared 2 cups and handed one to her. She took it carefully, looking at the steam rising from it with curiosity. He took a sip. I hope you're not upset. She held the cup, but didn't drink. I am not upset, but I am unsure. About what? You saw a part of me that others are not meant to see, she said softly. Ryan nodded. I understand. And I'm sorry again. I didn't mean to. She finally tasted the drink. Her eyes widened. This is pleasing. He laughed lightly. Told you. Earth has some good things. Narelle looked down at the cup in her hands. In my culture, when we reveal our inner form, it is a moment of great meaning. We only do so in front of family or bonded companions. It's not just physical, it is emotional. Oh. Ryan sat down on the edge of his bed. So I basically walked into a very personal moment. Yes, she replied. But I am also confused. You didn't react with fear, you didn't stare, you didn't laugh. That's different. Ryan shrugged. I didn't think there was anything to laugh at. You looked like something honest, like how the ocean on Earth shows beauty under the surface. She looked at him. That's a kind thing to say. There was a pause. Then she asked, why do humans hide their own bodies so much? Ryan blinked. You mean clothes? Yes. You wear them even in safe places. He chuckled. It's a mix of tradition, privacy, and social rules. Not everyone feels comfortable being seen, even by family. We grow up being told to cover up. Narelle tilted her head. But your skin is not dangerous. It doesn't change form. So why hide it? Ryan grinned. You're asking deep questions this early in the morning. She gave a soft smile for the first time. I am curious. That smile gave him courage. You can ask anything, and I'll answer. I want us to understand each other. She nodded slowly. That would be good. As days passed, the atmosphere between them began to change. Narelle no longer stayed silent. She started asking questions about human customs, music, food, and even emotions. Ryan would explain everything the best he could. He showed her Earth pictures, shared his favorite songs, and once even taught her how to make toast. She returned the favor by explaining Solari culture. Her people were deeply connected to water, and every major event in their life was marked by immersion in natural springs or sea caves. She explained how they shed not only their skin, but also emotions they no longer wanted to carry. Ryan listened, closely, fascinated. So you literally become someone new every cycle? Not completely, she said, but it helps us let go of pain, of fear, and even old beliefs. It is a form of healing. He thought about that. Humans mostly just hold on to things. That sounds heavy, she replied. He laughed. It is. One evening, Ryan noticed Niril didn't come back to the room after class. Hours passed. He messaged her on the communicator. No reply. Worried, he left the room and started checking common areas. The library, the garden dome, the quiet study, halls. Finally, he found her sitting alone on a bench near the indoor water fountain, her legs folded and her head bowed. Nirel, he said, walking up to her. I was worried. Are you okay? She didn't look up. I heard some students were talking about you and about me. Ryan sat beside her. What did they say? That it is strange for me to be friends with a human, she whispered. That I should not be so open with someone from a planet of war and fire. Ryan frowned. That's unfair. Not all humans are like that. I know, she said softly. But my people fear change. And you are change. He looked at her carefully. Are you afraid of me? She turned her face to him. Her eyes were wet but calm. No, I am afraid of losing who I am. But with you, I feel like I am becoming someone new, and I do not know if that is good or bad. Ryan took a slow breath. Maybe you're not losing yourself. Maybe you're just growing. Like when you shed your outer skin. She blinked. Maybe this is your emotional shedding, he added with a small smile. She gave a quiet laugh. You always say strange things. He stood up and held out a hand. Come on, let's go back. I'll make you another hot choco. She placed her hand in his gently. Thank you, Ryan. That night, as they sat side by side sipping hot drinks and listening to earth music, Nirel looked up at the ceiling and whispered, Do you think your people would ever accept someone like me? Ryan didn't answer right away. Then he said, I don't know about everyone, but I accept you, and I think that's a start. She looked at him and something soft passed between them. Trust, maybe even friendship. She didn't speak again that night. But the silence felt warm, like sitting beside a calm lake, watching the stars reflect on the surface. Weeks passed. Life on the space station had become something almost normal for Ryan. Classes, study hours, meal breaks, and late-night talks with his alien roommate, Nirel. What started as awkward silence had now grown into something quiet and comfortable. They often shared hot choco. He played Earth songs while she taught him how to pronounce certain Solari words. Sometimes they sat for hours without saying anything at all, just watching the stars outside their window. But Ryan could feel something strange. Something was different about Nirel again. Her skin shimmered more brightly than before. The fins behind her ears seemed to stretch a little longer. She wore her robe more tightly and her eyes looked tired. She smiled less. Her movements were slower, as if her body was carrying some heavy weight. One night, as they sat in the room, Ryan decided to ask, Nirel, are you okay? She looked at him, then turned away. Yes, I am simply preparing for my second shedding. Second? He repeated. I thought you already shed. She nodded. Yes, but that was only the beginning. My kind sheds in stages. We do not become our true form all at once. There are levels, layers. Ryan leaned forward. Does it hurt? She shook her head. Not in the way you think, but it changes how we feel. It changes how we see ourselves. He looked at her quietly. Is it scary? There was a long pause before she said, Yes. The next day, Nirel didn't attend classes. Ryan checked their room. She was curled up in the water pot again. The door was fully closed this time, and soft lights glowed from inside. He didn't go near it. He remembered what she said about privacy, and he respected it. Still, he stayed close. He sat outside the pod for hours doing his homework quietly just in case she needed him. Every now and then he heard soft hums coming from the pod, Silari songs probably, low and gentle like waves in the ocean. Then came a soft voice through the speaker. "Ryan?" He stood up quickly. "Yes?" "You can come in." He hesitated. "Are you sure?" "Yes." He stepped inside, eyes adjusting to the soft blue light. Narelle was sitting inside the water, her face above the surface, her silver hair floating around her. Her body shimmered more now, like pearls under sunlight. "Is everything okay?" he asked. She nodded slowly. "I want to show you something." He waited. Narelle raised one arm gently. Thin silver lines had appeared under her skin like natural markings. They glowed softly with her heartbeat. "This is the final stage. In this form we are fully grown, fully aware." Ryan watched in silence, not with shock, but with respect. Only bonded partners, family, or chosen friends are allowed to see this, she said quietly. "You are the only one who has." He felt his throat tighten. "Why me?" She looked down. "Because you never looked at me with fear. Not once." That evening, Narelle finally shared more of her story. Her family back home wanted her to stay among the Solari. They believed contact with other species would weaken their traditions. But Narelle had always felt curious about the stars, about the way humans lived, felt, laughed. "My people fear the unknown," she said, "but I fear staying the same." Ryan understood. Earth was the same once. Long ago, humans feared change too. We still do sometimes. But change is how we grow. She smiled softly. "You say wise things for someone who forgets to clean his side of the room." He laughed. "I never said I was perfect." They laughed together. But their peace didn't last long. 2 days later, someone left a message scratched into the wall just outside their room. "Aliens and humans don't belong together." The words were written in harsh letters. Ryan felt anger rise in his chest. He had heard whispers before. Some students didn't like that humans and aliens were sharing living space, especially when the bonds grew close. But this was the first open sign of hate. He looked at Narelle. She was staring at the words with a blank face. "I'll report this," Ryan said quickly. "You don't deserve this, no one does." She didn't speak for a moment. Then she said, "I expected it." He turned to her. "That doesn't make it right." "No," she replied quietly. "But it is the truth." Ryan clenched his fists. "We can't let them get away with it." Later that day, Ryan filed a report with the station authorities. Security scanned the wall, took evidence, and promised to investigate. Ryan could see other students watching him and Narelle as they walked through the halls. Some were curious. Others looked away. A few whispered. He felt protective now, like Narelle wasn't just a roommate anymore, but someone he truly cared about. Not in a romantic way. Something deeper. Something honest. That night, he found her again sitting by the window, knees pulled close to her chest. "Do you regret coming here?" he asked. "No," she said after a while. "But sometimes I feel like I don't belong anywhere." "You do," he said gently. "You belong wherever your heart feels safe. And I'll stand with you, no matter what anyone says." She looked at him with her violet eyes. "Even if they speak against you too?" "Yes," he said without hesitation. There was a long silence between them. The stars outside continued to shine quietly, like they had for thousands of years. Then Narelle said, "Then I will no longer hide my true form. Let them see me. Let them know who I really am." The next day, Narelle walked into the common lounge area without her full robe. She wore a simple, flowing outfit made of light Solari fabric. Her glowing skin lines were visible. Her hair was tied, back showing the fine fins behind her ears. The room went silent. Students turned to look. Some stared. Others whispered. A few stood and left. But Narelle didn't stop. She walked to the center of the room, sat down by the water fountain, and began to sing softly in her own language. Ryan walked in beside her. He didn't say anything. He didn't need to. His presence said enough. Slowly, a few curious students came closer. One of them, a girl from a desert planet, asked politely, "What's your song about?" Narelle looked up. "It is about becoming." Narelle's song echoed softly through the lounge. At first, many students just stared. Some were confused by the glowing lines on her skin, by the soft fins on her arms, or by the way her voice seemed to float in the air like water. Others simply sat and listened. A few smiled. Ryan stood beside her the whole time, not saying a word, just watching her with quiet support. She finished her song after a few minutes. The room remained silent. Then a soft clap came from the corner. It was a student, from the tech department, a large insectoid alien with glowing green eyes. "That was beautiful," he said in his deep voice. Others followed, not with loud applause but small, respectful claps. Some nodded in appreciation. Others still left, uninterested or unsure. But something had changed. Narelle had stopped hiding. Later, that evening, Ryan and Narelle sat together in the student garden dome. The fake grass under their feet was soft, and a blue sky projection hovered above. It was made to feel like a calm Earth evening. "I didn't know you could sing like that," Ryan said. "I was trained when I was young," Narelle replied, "but I stopped. I thought it would only remind me of home, and of how different I am." Ryan looked at her. "You're not just different. You're brave." She gave him a quiet glance. "You helped me become that." Ryan smiled. "I just stood next to you. Sometimes," she said. "That's all it takes." The next day, the station authorities called Ryan and Narelle for a meeting. They had found the student who wrote the hateful message. It was a young man from a planet known for its strict traditions. He had seen Ryan and Narelle together in the hallway and assumed something more than friendship. He said humans should not mix with other species, the officer explained, especially not closely. Ryan felt anger again, but Narelle placed a hand gently on his arm. The officer continued, "He's been removed from the student quarters. He'll be sent back to his home world for review by their education council." Ryan asked, "Will this be made public?" "Yes," the officer said. "We're not hiding discrimination. We want to show that it's not welcome here." Narelle nodded slowly. "That is wise." A few days later, the space station hosted a student forum. It was a chance for all species to speak about life together, about challenges, fears, and hopes. Ryan didn't plan to speak. But when the speaker asked, "Would anyone like to share their experience?" Narelle stood up. The room went silent. She walked calmly to the center, wearing her flowing Solari clothes, her markings softly glowing. "I am Narelle," she said, "a student from the Solari waters. I came here to learn about the stars and other beings, but I also learned about myself." Her voice was steady. "I was afraid to be seen, to be judged. My kind believes that showing our true form is risky. And in some ways they are right. I was judged. Someone left a message that told me I do not belong." Whispers began. Eyes turned. But someone stood beside me. A human named Ryan. He did not judge me. He asked questions. He listened. He accepted what he didn't understand. She looked at Ryan and smiled softly. "I wish to tell all of you that being seen, truly seen, is not easy. But it is not wrong. I hope one day everyone here can feel safe enough to be who they are without fear." She bowed her head slightly and walked back to her seat. The silence lasted only a moment. Then, applause, strong and real. After the forum, many students came to Ryan and Narelle. One girl from a desert world said, "I never dared to speak in my own voice, but today, you gave me courage." A boy from Earth gave Ryan a friendly pat on the back. "You're lucky, man, she's amazing." Ryan just smiled. "Yeah, she is." The story of Narelle's speech spread fast. It was shared on the school network. Even some teachers thanked her for her honesty. The space station's leadership added new rules about respect and cross-species support. It wasn't perfect, but it was progress, and progress mattered. One evening, Ryan and Narelle were sitting on the balcony outside the lounge. The stars were clearer from this part of the station, quiet and peaceful. "Do you think things will stay this way?" Ryan asked. "Better, I mean." Narelle leaned her head against the railing. "Change takes time. But this is a good start." She looked up at the stars. "I used to think my shedding was something I had to hide. Now I feel like I'm shedding something even more important. My fear." Ryan nodded. "You helped others too. People saw something different in you, and it opened their minds." Narelle smiled. "I did not do it alone." They sat together for a while, not speaking, just breathing the cool, recycled air and watching distant stars move slowly across the dome. Then Narelle said, "In my culture, after the second shedding, we invite someone to witness the third." Ryan turned toward her. "Third?" "Yes. It is the final shedding, the moment we become our complete form. It happens in water, in silence, with only one witness." She looked at him seriously. "Will you come?" Ryan didn't need to think. "Yes, I'd be honored." She nodded once. "Then tomorrow, we begin." The next night, Ryan stood at the edge of the water pod. This time, it was not just a bath. The pod had been filled with special minerals borrowed from the station's medical lab to match the waters of the Solari homeworld. Soft lights filled the room. No machines, no voices. Narelle stepped inside slowly. Her robe slipped away. Her true form glowed beneath the surface, marked not just with beauty, but with meaning. Every line, every shimmer, told the story of her growth, her pain, and her strength. She floated in silence. Then slowly she submerged. Ryan stood still. Then her body pulsed. Light moved across her skin like waves. Thin, delicate membranes spread from her arms. Her hair grew longer, forming soft, glowing strands. Her skin turned into shades of pale silver and ocean blue. The light dimmed, and she rose slowly from the water, changed. Narelle stepped out, wrapped again, but different. Whole, brave. She looked at Ryan, and for the first time, her voice trembled with emotion. "Thank you for seeing me." The day after Narelle's final shedding, the space station felt quieter than usual. Or maybe it was just Ryan's mind that had become still. What he had witnessed the night before stayed with him. It wasn't just about her new form. It was about her courage. He sat at his desk watching the stars outside their window. When Narelle stepped out from her room pod, she looked brighter. Not in color or glow, but in energy. She moved with calm confidence, her steps smoother, her expression softer. Her robe flowed like it was part of her now, not something she used to hide. Ryan stood up. "How do you feel?" She gave him a gentle smile. Complete. They shared a long look. No more walls between them. No more confusion. Just peace. Later that day, they walked through the main corridor of the learning center together. This time everyone looked at them, but not with judgment. Some nodded respectfully. A few even smiled. One younger student from a rocky planet stopped Narelle. "Are you the Solari girl who spoke at the forum?" Narelle nodded. "Yes. You're amazing," the student said, eyes wide. "You helped my friend tell his family he wanted to study music instead of minerals." Narelle blinked in surprise. "That is wonderful." Ryan gave her a proud smile. "See? You're not just a student here anymore. You're an example." She looked at him. "That was never my goal." "Sometimes the best leaders don't try to lead," he said. "They just show the truth." That evening, Ryan received a message from Earth. His younger sister had seen a picture of Narelle online, a photo from the student forum. "Who is she?" the message read. Ryan smiled and typed back, "She's my friend and she's braver than anyone I've ever met." Narelle walked over and saw him smiling. "Message from your family?" she asked. "Yeah, they're curious about you." She raised an eyebrow. "Will they accept someone like me?" Ryan looked serious now. "They'll see what I see, and that'll be enough." Narelle sat down beside him. "Sometimes I wonder if you were sent here not to study stars, but to guide someone lost in them." He chuckled. "I think we guided each other." The next week, a special invitation came from the station director. Ryan and Narelle were asked to speak at the Unity celebration, an event that honored cooperation between species. At first, Ryan said no. "I'm not good at speeches," but Narelle placed her hand gently on his. "You spoke for me when I had no voice. Now speak with me." He couldn't say no to that. The Unity celebration was held in the Grand Dome, where thousands of students, teachers, and guests from across the galaxy gathered. Colorful lights floated in the air. Music from multiple worlds played softly in the background. When it was their turn, Neril stepped forward first. She spoke about fear, about transformation, about how silence can feel safe. But truth brings freedom. She spoke about Ryan and how he stood beside her when no one else did. Then Ryan stepped forward. He looked at the crowd and took a breath. "I came here thinking I was just a normal human from a little planet. I thought I would learn facts and pass tests, but I ended up learning something far more important." He looked at Narelle. "I learned that friendship is not about looking alike or thinking the same way. It's about being there. It's about respect, kindness, and choosing to listen even when things are strange." The room was silent. Then came the applause, slow at first, then stronger, not because of big words, but because of honest ones. After the celebration, as they walked back to their room under the stars, Ryan asked, "So, what now?" Narelle tilted her head. "What do you mean?" "You've completed your final shedding. You've spoken in front of thousands. You've inspired people. What's next?" She smiled. "I still don't know what I'll do in the future, but now I'm not afraid to find out." He nodded. "Good, you shouldn't be." They reached their room and stepped inside. The soft lights welcomed them like always. Ryan sat on his bed and looked at her. "You're not just my roommate anymore." She turned toward him. "No, I suppose not." "You're my friend," he said. "One of the best I've ever had." Narelle looked thoughtful. "Where I come from, when two people help each other grow, we call them soul lights. It means their presence lights the path forward even in darkness." He smiled. "Then I guess we're soul lights." She nodded. "Yes, we are." Sometime later, a new message arrived from the Earth Academy. Ryan had been offered a chance to join a research team, traveling to a distant system to study alien habitats. It was a dream come true. He told Narelle that night. She listened quietly, then smiled. "You should go." He hesitated. "What about you?" "I'll be here," she said, "teaching the next wave of students how to walk through fear." He looked at her for a long time. "You'll be amazing at that." "Promise to visit?" she asked. "Only if you promise to sing again sometime." She laughed softly. "Deal." They stood in the center of the room. For a moment, no words were needed. Then, without thinking, Ryan opened his arms. Narelle stepped forward and embraced him gently. It wasn't romantic. It wasn't complicated. It was simply real. As Ryan boarded the transport shuttle weeks later, he looked back one last time. There, standing at the gate, was Narelle. Her silver hair blew softly in the recycled air. Her skin glowed in patterns only her people understood. But Ryan understood something more important. She was proud. She was free. And she was his friend. He waved. She lifted her hand in return as a The shuttle doors closed and the engines hummed. Ryan leaned back in his seat, smiling. Among the stars, he had found something he never expected. Not just knowledge, not just adventure, but connection. True, lasting connection. And he knew, no matter how far he traveled, he would never forget the alien girl who had once been just a quiet roommate, but became his light among the stars.